First of all, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to come. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I know it's not the best of times, but under the circumstances, this room was only available at this time. And for those of you that know, last year we were down at Lateral. That was a cluster. So I feel we have a little bit more room here, and this was probably our best fit. There's a few of us are here today. My name is Dale Escobar, and I'm the SLIP coordinator for the SLIP program. I have my colleague here, Maribel Barrios. She's a strong help in the field of the SLIP program. Then we have Patricia Vogel. She is the one that does all the scheduling for the Y connections, okay, all the sewer taps, okay? You would reach out to her. Her business card's up here. If you don't have it, if you need it, she will be able to answer some of your questions. Then we have Stephanie. I'm sorry. Can't pronounce her last name. That's my apologies. Anyway, she's up at the Public Works counter. She issues your Public Works permits for the Y connections taps. And anything that needs to deal with the public work side of it. We have Adam. He's here to observe. Answer any questions that on that side as well. To my right, your left, we have Michelle Beeson. She is from National Plant Services. She is going to be talking about her product towards the end of this presentation. Okay. For those of you that may have questions for her, she'll be able to answer them. She does have a handout. And then her information is also available. So with that, you guys all grabbed a handout from the table, I hope, right? The first one I would like to address is SLIP procedure requirements. Bullet point 1, I'm going to save that because that's going to be for my superintendent or my manager to come in and speak in about an hour on that, okay? When it comes to condition assessments, we're getting a lot of pushback from the property owners, and they're feeling they're getting inaccurate information from the plumbers after I send off a letter. So we want to maintain strong honesty with these residents and commercial properties as best we can. Okay, I'm not trying to take business away from you, but let's be honest with them. I mean, if something's going to have to get done, then it's going to have to get done. If there's roots in the line, please don't tell the resident or owners that the line's in great condition or good condition, because we get a lot of that, okay? Because obviously there is a defect, because if there's roots entering that lateral at a joint, obviously there is something wrong at that point. The mortar's deteriorating, whatever it may be, so we are having issues with that, okay? You guys are doing a video. We only recommend it when we send out the letter to have the line cleaned prior to doing your inspection. That's only a recommendation on our part when we send out the letter. But if you guys are out there doing the video inspection, then we would hope that if you guys come across roots, that you would tell them, hey, look, there's roots in here. We should probably jet this. We should probably snake this before we submit this video. Because what's going to happen is that I'll get a video in, it's full of roots. I'll turn around and send a letter out. Now I'm going to require them to jet it and then re-inspect it. So that's more money for them. So if we could just get you guys to, hey, sell that part, that's better for you and it's better for us, okay? As you all are aware, or most of you should be aware, last year we brought up the fact that we're no longer going to take black and white videos. So if you have a black and white camera, this year, as of tomorrow, we will no longer accept black and white videos, Okay, I haven't seen too many, but that's the direction that we're going in now. All the videos that are being submitted, we need you guys to label them. A lot of them are not getting labeled, so if they slip out, fall, it can be a mix-up. Especially if the property owners want the videos back, they have to be identified. No more taping. I don't know who was doing it. Somebody's been taping the USBs to the inspection forms, and then when I go to rip them off, I'm ripping the paper, and that's pretty much useless for us. So let's not tape them. Maybe get an envelope, put them in the envelope, write the name of the owner and address, and then we can put it aside and let us know if they want it back. We'll get it back to them. Okay. Permits for new buildings or remodels. All those cases come to Public Works. They do not get sent to Lateral. Okay, so all those cases come here to the 630 Garden Street location. Okay, so if you guys would help out and get those here, that would be a big help. Along those lines, the Lateral is working on getting the gates locked down at the plant. So there's going to be very limited access for all of you guys to enter the plant now. You'll have to either make an appointment or try and catch us on the fly, but we're going to request you guys to make appointments to come and see us down there at the plant. Okay? My email's on this sheet. You can email me requesting to set up an appointment. You can text me to set up an appointment. My cell phone is on the sheet. The inspection forms, the website is there on the sheet for you guys to download the inspection forms. They're updated, so please take a look at that. While we're on it, I hope everybody grabbed an inspection form, a sheet. There's been a minor change. We added the lateral ID a spot for you guys to write that in. That helps identify which lateral we're looking at. If there's 4 on the property and you guys can only find the 1, we need you guys to fill that in. We need actually everything to be filled in, but we'll go over that a little bit more as we go into the presentation here. With that, one more time, you guys got the sheet to sign in with, leave it with us, correct? Did anybody not get this sheet? Okay. So for those of you that have been a part of this program for a number of years, some of this has changed and some of it has not. This is our sewer lateral inspection program. Our training objectives are as follows. We're going to review the scope and intent of the city sewer lateral inspection program. We're going to review standards, inspection forms, and the direction for completions, okay? Specifications for the video inspection, review of the forms and procedures for completion. So originally, the program was launched in 2007 as the program, and obviously those of you that have been around, there was incentives back then that the city had allocated money for. That we blew through that money real fast. A lot of people got on board and were taking advantage of that $2,000 rebate that the city was offering. We then ran out of money for that. Program was put on hold. And then in 2013, it was revamped. And at that time, we had decided to go after commercial properties with the intent to have all commercial properties have their laterals inspected by 2023. So that's a 10-year span. Commercial, the condominiums, 3 or more dwellings on a property. And then for the residential, if a private spill happens, they will receive, and this goes for commercial as well, they will receive a slip letter requiring them to inspect their sewer lateral. If during the routine of CCTVing the city main structure, our staff comes across a defect and or roots within a lateral, that will too require a letter being sent to the residential properties as well. For permitting, if it's 400 square feet or more, or 2 or more plumbing fixtures, they will be required to submit a video of the inspection of the lateral. Sewer lateral inspection programs, other issues such as shared laterals. Inspection is required only on portion of the lateral on owner's property and in the public right-of-way. So if there's a front and back house, split, shared, we're going to require that front house be done and then into the public right-of-way. And then we would have to deal with the property behind it separately. For septic tanks, same requirements for inspection as the laterals. For exemptions, if they installed a new lateral within the past 20 years, they'd be exempt. Now, they may have installed a new lateral but not done anything with the Y. That doesn't count. You will still have to turn in a video inspection of that lateral. If the line was inspected in the last 3 years and we happen to send off a letter requiring them to inspect and they were issued a COC, that would be exempt because they were already given one within that last 3 years. With the exemption of the lateral spilling or roots or the defect found within that connection. Our permits and what's waivable. Open trench, they start at $62 and go up from there. Is that waivable? Yes, that is a waivable fee. What I mean by waivable is that it's not free because it comes out of wastewater funds. We're paying for that permit. So that cost would not be charged to the customer. Boreholes, $88 and up. Yes, that fee is waivable also. Traffic control, $80 up to $1,300. And yes, that one is waivable as well. The Y connection installation, those fees for a 4-inch is $746.75 for a 4-inch, and then $767.35 for a 6-inch, and that fee is never waivable. Okay, reason being is that we have a outside contractor come in that we have to pay to have it installed. Okay. On the building side, the backwater valve permit for that, you're looking at $222. That's not waivable. Clean out permit, $283, and that is not waivable. Again, these fees were adopted in July of 2017 for the fiscal year 2018. These will expire June 30th, they will expire. There is a fee resolution. You can find that at the website on there, and it'll tell you what the new fees will be. Okay? With that, I'm going to ask Stephanie to step up, and she's going to share a little bit about the public works permitting and stuff.
Okay, hi everybody. So I'm here. I work at the Public Works counter, as you know. So I'm here to talk about when you need a public works permit. So once you get this letter and it's determined that the lower lateral has to be replaced or the Y, then you come to the Public Works counter. So see the property line there in Kerbin Street. The owner's responsibility, it goes from the building to the main line. And where the property line is, the lateral, that's Public Works and also the Y. But there's always a case when there is an easement on property, then you come to us too. So any time you have to replace a Y, you come to us. Next one. Okay, so what do we need with a public works permit? We do need contractor with appropriate license, insurance, and City of Santa Barbara business license. We also need construction information, so you need to tell us what you have to do. You need a trench, trenchless, sidewalk replacement, whatever you need to do. Next one is a temporary traffic control. So we need to know, do you need to close the sidewalk, you need to do a lane closure, or most of all it's a diamond, the TA15. So you can go by this. Sometimes downtown you would need an engineered traffic control plan, but that's rare. Mostly you just go ahead and tell me, okay, I just need the diamond, the TA15, and be good to go. So the next I would need a schedule. So anytime you do need a lateral, you just say, but don't forget the posting of the signs. It has to be 72 hours before. So we need to know the schedule, what day, what time. The schedule, what's posted there, it's more for the Y replacement. You don't need that with the lateral. So if there is a Y replacement, they only accept Tuesdays and Thursdays, and these are the times from 8 to 10, from 10 to 12, and 1 to 3, and 3 to 5. Normally it's like a week in front, but they will tell you about this, right? So the Y installation itself, the city hired a contractor, so they actually do the Y replacement. But you come to the counter and schedule it with us and get a permit for it. So the fees are, like Dale already mentioned, it's in the fee resolution, and some fees are waived, mostly for the lateral, but Dale is the one who determines if or if not. And the Y will never be waived. So I want to talk about the parking signs, right? So I did an example how to fill it out. So they have to be posted 72 hours in advance, and you will get them with each public works permit. So you do need to have a public works permit to get these signs. So after you fill out the date, like you can see, the time. Then you put down what kind of project it is, sewer replacement or whatever you have to do. And then your contractor information. The city contact, that is our public works counter. And then you put down public works permit, 2018. Right now it's 2018 and the public works number. Once you post it, then you put down the date, post the sign, and you actually, after posting, you call parking enforcement at 805-897-3727. So if you don't have this number, please write it down, because that's the number you have to call. And of course, you need to check the signs daily, because they will, if they get lost and you can prove that you did post them, you can tow anybody away. So you have to check them. So that's really actually what a public works permit comes with. I don't know if you have questions, or at the end, let me know. Okay? Thank you.
Correction on the scheduling for the Ys, the times that the installations are is 8 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 3 p.m. Okay? Those are the start times for those, not in between 8 and 10, just to clarify that, okay? So contractor sewer tap requirements, all excavations needs to have proper shoring in place per Cal OSHA, okay? And that's 5 feet or deeper. Unsafe conditions that are in place upon our arrival or contractor's arrival will cause to cancel the scheduled appointment and impose a rescheduling fee. Okay, so make sure you guys are aware of that. Okay, if they show up and you guys aren't ready, there will be a rescheduling fee. The existing sewer main needs to be completely exposed. There's a diagram there, 18 inches from the center point up, 18 inches down, and 3 feet minimum across. Do not break into the existing VCP pipe, okay? Nobody should be touching that, the city main pipe, okay? So let's make sure we don't break that pipe before the contractor gets there. Even if there's a liner in there, we don't want to remove that outside piping. Next one, Maribel. So these standards, how I review the videos and how I look at them is off of the NASCO PACP certification training. Okay, I'm certified in that, have been for a number of years, and I recertify every few years. So when I'm looking at a crack, I'm going to call it a crack. If I'm looking at it and the crack doesn't go all the way through, it's a crack. But if I'm looking at it and there's a fracture and I can see through it, then it's a fracture. So I'm going to distinguish those between the two, and I hope you guys would understand what I'm calling a fracture versus a crack. The fracture is a little more severe than a crack is, and then the break is more severe than a fracture is. So the PACP it stands for Pipeline Assessment Certification Program. Manages CCTV inspection results, benefits of our system based on the LACP, which is a Lateral Assessment Certification Program. Inspection standards, improves pipes condition grade, quality, consistency, which improves ability to identify priorities or prioritizes for pipes, systems, rehabilitation and repair, detects changes in pipe condition, measures the difference in lateral condition between inspections, direct, objective, and consistent and thorough collection of data to simplify a host of wastewater management tasks, provides separate ratings for structurals and operation and maintenance defects, considers total number of internal pipe defects within pipe segments and pipe material, not just depth, age, soil, and service condition. Widely accepted standards to meet 21st century. We're in compliance to meet regulatory requirements. Your submittal packages. A complete, clean, legible form. We all got one of those. Complete, meaning every single item on here needs to be completed. Okay, footage, direction, the the length, the material, name, address. If the mailing address is the same as the site address, we don't have to fill that in. We are making this form. You will be capable of going online and filling it in online and then printing it out now. So we are going to make that capable if you guys choose to do that. Okay? And plus, it'll help me be able to read it. The video, what's acceptable, we're still accepting DVDs, USB, and electronic formats capable of download, viewable, and stored by the city of Santa Barbara. Okay. Unfortunately, YouTube is not one of those. So we can no longer take the YouTube videos. What is it? Dropbox? Hightail, Dropbox. Those ones have been working really well for us. So those are some options for you instead of YouTube. We have not. If it's something that we have to set up an account with or download, then we have to get other departments involved, like our IT department, and get administrative rights. So that would be something we'd have to look into if you guys are wanting to do that. Okay. This form here is showing you a completed form. Completed meaning everything is checked off in those boxes that needs to be checked off. Okay. The front side, you did your visual. Well, starting from the top, name, address, phone number, mailing address if it's different, state, city. The company name is the company you are representing. Inspector is the inspector who did the video inspection. The phone number, whether you want to put your cell phone as an inspector or you want to put the company, that is just in reference that if I have a question that I need to reach out to you quickly, I don't have to go searching through the plumber's list to call you. Sewage, residential, commercial, size, material, the date, time, etc. What I'm finding out here, what a lot of you are forgetting to put on here is the length. Okay, when I go to upload these into our server, I have required fields that I have to put in, and length is one of them. So if I don't have the length, then I can't upload it into the server. The newest addition to this inspection form is the lateral ID. You guys all have a handout. Lateral ID, when we mail out the letters, it generally has it on there. If there's multiple and you only come across one, again, do your best to identify that if you're capable of identifying it. If you're not much you can do out there. It'll, come back to me and I'll have to figure it out. Backside, a lot of people are writing on the backside. In the summary, all they're writing is, found roots, there was roots throughout the line or whatever. When I get calls from the property owners asking me, and I can't look at your form because nobody wrote anything in the form under footages or what it was, I can't explain to them why you guys didn't put that down, but why I put it down when I reviewed the video. There's a conflict there. So, they're thinking somebody's lying to them. So that's why it's important for you guys to fill this out, especially you guys see a crack, break, fracture, something that has to be identified. Please put it down. If you guys skip, change a pipe, that's not a big deal. I'm not going to hold you guys to that. But understand, the major things, the roots, the cracks, the breaks, that stuff, that I have to, answer to the property owners about this kind of stuff. If anything is not filled out on this, we're going to reject this, okay? We may try, if we have time, to give you a courtesy call, But right now we have a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff coming in, and our plates are full right now. So to try and chase somebody down, I just don't think right now we don't have that time. If we have a few extra minutes, maybe we will. But we're going to try and stay consistent with this. So please, need your guys' help with this. Okay. The lateral inspection program webpage, it's there, up there on the screen there. Your video should be clear, well lit, color, traveling no more than 20 feet a minute. You come to a defect, roots, break, fracture, cracks, voids. Hold for 5 seconds because I have to take a still shot of that picture. And we generally like to insert that picture with the letter going out to the property owners to tell them, here's the repair, this is what it looks like. Okay, so if you hold it for 5 seconds, it gives me a chance to snap that picture. Common reasons for lateral inspection for rejection. Okay, speed. I haven't had that over this past year. It hasn't been too bad. But you know, let's keep that speed to 20 feet per minute. Not holding for that defect long enough for me to take a snapshot. Missing footage on the counter. That is something that will definitely get you a reject. Not meaning to you, we're going to send the property owner rejecting the video. I have to explain to them at what footage. So if they're calling me and I don't see a footage on the screen, I can't tell them where the footage is or where the repair is. So that's why it's important to have that footage on there. Light intensity. If it's too dark, I mean, if I can't see and I can't assess it, I mean, I can't guess. I'm not going to try and guess. The lens is dirty, smudged. Do a quick wipe off, or drop it in the sewer main and try and clean it off as you're coming back. Again, I talked about identifying the defects on the back and incomplete inspection forms. The reason why one of the questions on the inspection form asks if there's any drains is because of the excessive water that gets dumped in. Yes, you may think you're at one property and it's not that big of a deal, it's only one, but if we get a whole block, dumping illegal drains into the lateral, that's, coming down to the treatment plant, and, we have a heavy rain event, it's hard for that plant to keep up with trying to treat all that sewer. So that's why, we want you guys to please help identify any illegal connections to the sewer system. We don't expect you guys to use smoke testing or anything like that. Your visual, your inspection, as you're doing the inspection of the lateral, you should be able to see if any other lines are tying in that shouldn't be tying in. Backwater valve. Obviously, we know that if your plumbing fixture sits lower than the upstream manhole, then it's going to be required to have a backwater valve. We are not out there on site like you guys are. You guys are the ones that have to make that determination if the backwater valve is going to be needed for that property. Once you guys make that determination, we will go ahead and then send them the letter based off of what you guys are saying they need. So if you guys say they need it, then we're going to send it telling them they need it. Now, if I get requested to come out and do a site visit, because there's question, there's two ways to handle that. I can have them get it surveyed, tell the property owner, have it surveyed, see if you're going to really need it. I can come out and I can give my professional opinion on that. These are just different types of backflow devices or backwater valves that we use or that could be used. So going into our construction methods, we have the standard methods, your conventional dig, replace method. I don't know how many people are doing that these days, but that's still available. You got your pipe bursting method. I think a lot of you have done some of that. We added lateral lining this past year. We made that an option. Again, those methods require, well, I guess it's a cured in place CIPP, lining using inversion lining method. That's going to require a pre-approval, and it's a case-by-case basis. It will require special inspection and post-video. Y replacement, if liner protrudes into the city main, if that liner is inserted and it goes into the city sewer system, then that Y obviously is going to be replaced, and that's going to be cut out. Okay. These are the guidelines to requesting to have the lateral lined. First and foremost, to initiate a request to have a line or a lateral line using the trenchless CIPP technology, you have to get a written request must be submitted to Dale Escobar, myself, the slip coordinator. We need the lateral ID, the address, the contractor, and the material proposed to be used. Okay. Dale Escobar, myself, will review request and provide an approval when if acceptable to the city. Our response will generally include a copy of the trenchless lateral lining guidelines. You guys all got a copy of that this afternoon. Once approved, contractor may schedule an appointment. Lateral lining appointments are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Time slots are 8 a.m., 10 a.m., and 1 p.m. Any exception or rescheduling will require pre-authorization at least 24 hours in advance. The slip coordinator or other authorized city wastewater staff will be present during the installation of the liner. So myself or one of the other wastewater staff authorized will be on site during this process. Okay. That there'll be no exceptions with that. Only licensed contractors allowed to work in the public right-of-way will be allowed to perform lateral lining work. Okay. Reason behind that is that if there is anything that goes wrong in the public right-of-way and you're not licensed to work in the public right-of-way, that is going to cause a delay. So instead of us taking that chance, especially if it goes into the city sewer main in potentially causing a SSO, we opted to keep it to the contractors that have the license to work in the public right of way. Okay, the contractor will be responsible for all traffic control necessary during the course of this job. Okay, so during the process of this job, it's the same as doing a piper's. You know, you're fully responsible for maintaining that traffic control. Failure to follow the procedures outlined above may result in the contractor being liable for any damages to the city's sewer main or cost recovery for city staff to respond to a spill related to lateral lining. Example is if they line into a city main and it causes an SSO and we're out there having to spend a few hours to clean up or mitigate the problem, that contractor that has that job will be held responsible for that cost and recovery. A post-lining CCTV video of the lateral showing the entire lateral, including the Y, is going to be required within 24 hours of the installation of that liner. Again, if the liner is intruding into the city main, require grinding. A portion, or let me see, will require grinding the protruding portion within 24 hours from the insertion date or replacement of the Y. And again, you will have to get, I'd have to be notified, and we would have to have one of our staff on site during that process of whoever's going in from that manhole. At this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Bradley Rare, the wastewater superintendent.
Thank you, Dale. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bradley Rare. I'm the wastewater collection system superintendent for the city of Santa Barbara. This is my second year in the position, and my main role as part of the SLIP program is to make sure that you're all getting the best customer service from my staff as part of the SLIP program. As Dale alluded to, our program has really increased the volume of sewer lateral work over the last about year and a half. We're taking a much more aggressive stance on getting defective laterals in the city of Santa Barbara repaired, rehabilitated, or renewed so that basically they do not cause as much problems for the city sewer main as they have in the past. So what I really just want to ask of you guys is, first and foremost, please treat my staff with respect. And if you're getting anything less than what you would expect from the city, you're fully welcome to give me a call, come talk with me, and I'm happy to hear kind of what may be going on. We are dealing with a lot of cases. Dale and Maribel are really the only two that are processing all the cases that are going through the city right now. Adam Hendel and his staff are helping on the public works permitting side. So please be patient, and if you have anything you'd really like to bring up, definitely come discuss it with me. I'm happy to meet with you anytime. We're very pleased to have Michelle Beeson here with National Plant Services today. She is somebody I've known for the last several years. She's done her company has done contracting work with the city for cleaning, and she and I met I think about a year and a half ago to start talking about some of the services that they provide to municipalities and to private property owners to utilize some technology that's out there to help cost effectively rehabilitate and repair sewer laterals. To provide property owners a really good cost-effective solution. So we've asked Michelle today to come in and speak about her products. There are other ones out on the market that are similar technology, but hers is probably one of the more advanced that I've seen out there. The less we have to dig up the public right away, the better it's going to be. And so I really hope that you guys will give Michelle calls on any kind of technical questions you have so that you can investigate looking into her product, but do your research and look at other products as well too. We don't want to just look like we're endorsing one, but I do know Michelle's product is a product that we're very interested in deploying in the city of Santa Barbara. So anyway, with that, I'll stay afterwards if anybody has any questions for me. So thank you, Michelle.
Okay, again, hi everyone. I'm Michelle Beeson with National Plant Services. Go back to the main slide for a second because I'm going to just blab on for a little bit. So National Plant Services has been based in Long Beach since 1981. And we're a sewer maintenance contractor. We generally do mainline cleaning and TV cleaning for cities. So we have three main buckets. We do cleaning, inspection services, and trenchless rehabilitation services. And again, we contract for cities. So I'm not here to take your jobs working with the homeowners, right? We generally work for bigger projects encompassing many different aspects of the city system. So, but like as Brad said, he saw our product and thought, hey, how can we get this out to you? Because I'm not going to go to each your homeowners and try to sell lateral lining. But we think, hey, if we can group you together, and I've been already getting calls from some of the plumbers, hey, I have a lateral over here, I have a few over here. If we pull you together, it's more effective for everyone. And not every technology is going to work for every situation, but I'm here to show you what our technology is so that it may, you may think of it for something that you may need in the future. Okay, now go forward. So, service connecting lining. The neat thing about our lining is that it goes from inside the main line. You can click twice, there you go. So, oftentimes, even if a line is CIPP lined, What happens when you CIPP a main line, they use polyester resins, and they grout it. It looks real nice at first, but what happens, that shrinks, right? So all those laterals they cut out, that's a great place for water and roots and everything else to come into the main lines. And then going up toward the house, you know, old clay pipes get broken, roots come in, you have infiltration, which again, as Dale was saying, just costs everyone more money because you have to treat all that water. So these T-liners that we have are installed from the main line. So it's, we go inside the manhole and we pull between a section of pipe from manhole to manhole, and we would use what's called inversion, where we invert these liner tubes up the lateral. And you see a nice before and after. We have 3 different types, which I'll show you here in a second. But this is what's called an LCR, lateral connection repair. So there's these Ys we're talking about. Let's say you have to fix a Y. You have to dig down. You might break the hose pipe. You have to deal with utilities. You don't have to with these T-liners. You can go right from the inside the main line, invert up. It covers that connection. You fix the Y. We're done. If you have the whole lateral needs repair, we can go all the way up to the house, again, from the main line, up to 100 feet. All from inside the pipe. So again, no digging, we don't need to clean out at the house, so it's a very innovative solution. So again, there's 3 types. We have our LCR, lateral connection repair. There's a packer, you see that little yellow tube, it's around a packer, and it's an inflatable packer. And I have a video here in a second, because videos are worth a million words in my view. But installed from a packer, we don't need to clean out. The lateral piece goes 18 to 24 inches up the lateral, and we use no shrink resins. So just like I mentioned that CIPP example in the main lines, we don't use those polyester resins that shrink. We use either silicate or epoxy resins. And the end result, here's an example of a MTH liner, it stays tight forever. Okay, so there's no shrinking, there's no way for water to come back through that pipe. And then I mentioned we also have the main to house, which is also installed from the packer. No clean out, can go up to 100 feet from the main line, and we use steam cure epoxy. And the reason for that is, if you think about it, we're impregnating a really long tube, and that takes more time. We don't want an ambient cure resin that's going to go off on us, right? So there's epoxies, which are these blue resins, that start to set off and get hard in the presence of heat. So that's why we use the steam cure epoxy for the MTH to give us more working time. And that's the video I'm going to show you the process there. We also have clean out shots, like, you know, Dale was mentioning, and Brad, you don't want a liner to go into the main line, right? We can do that too, and a lot of plumbers use clean out shots of resins. But we can do the same thing. We measure with our lateral launch camera to make sure we're not going to go into the main line, because we don't want to have to cut that back out. And this material can go 300 feet from a clean out. So we can go through a clean out if you need to. We're doing a project in Portland. We have some 200, 300 foot long laterals. So we're doing an MTH from the main, and then we're shooting back over it from the clean out. And again, we use the steam cure epoxy. So we use a process called inversion. So again, we have a control unit in the truck. We have a big 32-foot truck set up with we have a boiler, we have cameras that are watching on the packer. We pull the packer into position, and there's a pathfinder that kind of clicks in place of the lateral, so we know we're in the right place, right? That's a patented feature that we have. And then we set the pressure and inflate to around 10 psi, and it'll inflate and push itself and actually roll itself inside out. So we have the resin part inside with a coating. You can't see from here, but there's a special thermoplastic coating on the outside, which means it won't melt in the presence of heat. So when we insert it, it's resin side in, and actually when it inverts, it actually turns itself inside out all the way up the lateral so that the resin side is touching the pipe. So now we'll show the video, which will show everything. Is there sound in this video? Oh, is there a sound? Maybe see if there's the volumes up. There's sound on the video, but we need to make sure there's no system. Okay, I'll just talk. Okay. So we first clean the main line and lateral. So that's the first step. So you'll have to decide you want us to clean or you're going to clean. We set up all the safety equipment. We measure and cut the lateral liner based on our TV inspection, because again, we want it to be right on. So depending if we're doing the silicate or epoxy resins, we mix a hardener. And once we mix the hardener, the time starts clicking. We then hook up a vacuum port, and the vacuum helps pull the resin through and make sure we have really good saturation. So here's the epoxy. This is a steam cure epoxy. We pour it in the liner, and we kind of push it through, and that vacuum is helping to pull it through. We then roll it through a liner. This is all in our 32-foot truck where we roll it through the the rollers to make sure we have nice impregnation of the liner. And then this is a patented feature we have. It's an end cap. It has a little hole in the end. So it inflates like a balloon, and it's what helps us invert. When we put air, right, it wants to go somewhere. Like air is filling this big, long tube and helping it turn inside out, and it's because of that cap at the end. So we blot the excess resin, we put it in an ice bath till we're ready, because even though it's epoxy cure, steam cured epoxy, it will go off after a while. So we put it in an ice bath just to make sure it doesn't start setting up too fast, and then we get everything else ready. So we have a launch tube, and the launch tube is going to go inside the main line. So that end cap, which is what makes it helps it inflate, is attached to a cable, and that cable is pulled through this long black tube you see there. And this goes inside the main line and will sit in there and hold the lateral liner piece till we're ready to launch it. So then we pull it through, we coat the liner in peanut oil, it just makes it slide a little better through the tube. So we pull it through. And so we'll be up set up at this manhole we'll enter, and then we'll be at the other manhole with the winch and another crew person. So then we wrap, that's the main line piece. So that piece is going to be what you see inside the main line when we're done. It's the T-liner, and there's the basket. So when that packer goes in there, it's going to click into place to tell us we're in the right spot. So we wrap that main line piece around, and we put some rubber bands, and we use number 12 rubber bands because they break. Otherwise, they won't break. So when it inflates, that packer is going to inflate, those rubber bands break, and pushes it against the pipe wall. So now we load that launch tube into the main line. And there's a camera on the packer, so we're able to see everything that's going on and if we're in the right position. And we have footage counters, so we know when we're pulling through, we know we're at the right lateral that we're going to do. So it's the same general process if we're doing the short liners, but again, you don't have the launch tube because we don't need it. It's all contained inside the packer. So if we're just doing a little T-liner, it's a much more simple process. And there's a balloon actually for the LCR. I don't have a video of the LCR, but this is a more complicated setup when we're doing the long liners. The short liners are a lot faster. So we get it in place, we wipe that camera lens. This was just in Carpinteria last summer. I shot this video. We did 60 laterals for them. So back in the truck, once it's in place, the packer's pulled into position, the camera's watching, and we get in the right location. And then when we're ready, that pathfinder is raised and we lock into place, and then he's going to inflate with air. He's going to use air to start inflating. So you can see that's the bladder on the packer. It's going to inflate, and then now the air wants to go somewhere, so it's going to start filling that liner and pulling it and pushing it up the lateral, again, up to 100 feet from the main line. So once it's inflated, we wait. We're inflating. We're waiting for the pressure to build up. And the guy's holding a cable, right? He's holding the end of the cable. And we have the cable marked. Because you're like, well, how do you know it's all the way up? He's getting pulled. So that's him. I've seen them kind of fly through the air because sometimes they take off so fast. But we like a general launch. And he just gets pulled by the cable. And when that cable passes a point on the sidewalk, we know, okay, we're fully inverted. And we're ready to cure. Because we don't want to cure if it's all bunched up inside. So now we introduce steam. It'll vent through the cleanout or the roof vents of the house. Takes about 30-40 minutes. And then we pull the end cap off. And then we're on to the next one. And there's a finished result. So you can do this in mainline pipe. You can do it in unlined pipe. It doesn't matter the material. It'd be concrete, clay, PVC. It doesn't make any difference. And there's me being silly. Okay, go to the next one. Okay. Any questions about the lateral process real quick before I tell you what we, yes?
About flow and main.
Flow, the resins will not wash out in the presence of water. So if it's a small diameter pipe and not a lot of water, we just let it build up and kind of watch it. Right. Sometimes we'll take a Vactor and kind of suck the water off if it gets too high. If it's a lot of water, we'll bypass because we can go up to 21-inch diameter main lines, so we will bypass if necessary. It depends on if we're going short liners or long liners. The short liners can be, $1,700, $1,800 for a short liner. The mainline liners can be, if they go long, $3,000, $4,000 generally, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Depends. But what we're trying to do is pool people together. If we have to come from Long Beach to do one, it's going to be a lot more expensive than that. So it's better if we get maybe a week work or a few days work, come out for the trip, and spread the cost among everybody for the MOB charges. So what do we need to quote your project? So I've been getting a few calls where you're like, hey, give me a price. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to know a few things. So I have a little handout, and it's in the presentation what I need. But I need a clear video, what the lateral looks like. What does the connection look like? Is there accurate footage? And note any changes in the size. I need to know the size of the main line and the size of the lateral, because we have different packers depending on what size the main line is. And we need to know that we have the right piece, the right transition. Is it an 8 to 6, an 8 to 4, an 8 to 3, a 10 to 6, whatever it is? I need to know that. And I also need to know, is it a Y or a T? This is a T connection, but we make Y bags. That way we have less wrinkles, right? You don't want to put a T and a Y because you're going to have a little wrinkle here. It isn't a big deal, but we want a nice end result. So we will order everything to fit. So you want to note the lateral pipe change, all the defects in the pipe, any offsets, any infiltration, any bends in the lateral, any cleanouts or junctions. And we need the address, size of the main, size of the lateral, then like I said, T or Y. Is there a clean out? Oh, that's not necessary for our system unless we're doing the long shots. So if we have a really long lateral and we need to do a clean out shot for some reason, we'll need a clean out then, but not for the T-liner or the 100-footers. And then are you going to provide the traffic control or do you want us to? And then the cleaning of the main line and lateral is required, and would you want us to do that or will you do it? So that's what I need to know, and we can give you a price. And hopefully, like I said, pull a few together. I'm working with a few people right now that are interested and have special situations, so it saves everyone money. Yes?
Is there a warranty?
We say generally a year, but we've had them in the ground we've been installing these since 2006, and we generally do a year, but they last for 50 years. You can tell right away. It's a non-shrink product, so as soon as we inspect it when we're done, you'll know if it's good or not. It's not going to shrink. It's not going to fail. We generally do 1 year. What do you expect? Well, we can do case-by-case basis, but generally, like I said, once you inspect it, it's not like it's going to fail. It's a final product. The inspection proves that it's in good shape. So it's not like CIPP that's going to shrink like if it was a polyester resin. But we've done 3-year warranties on our Midwest company. It really depends on the firm. But generally, it's 1 to 2 years is what we say. We'll come back with no cost. Yes? Yes, as far as I know. But it's case-by-case basis. You'll have to submit it to him, and he'll have to tell you if that case would pass. But it sure beats digging into the street and right.
One of the factors we're going to be looking at is the main line already. So because this is going to be a little bit more difficult for the city to come back and line the main in the future if we have other defects at that point. So that's part of that case-by-case basis we're looking at.
Right, it's better to line the main line first, always, and then do the lateral second.
Obviously, if it's protruding, it's not going to work.
Yes, but we can, like the stretchy material, we can do offsets, we can do bends, we can do 90s. So again, we would look at the case and they'd have to approve if that's what they want. Some cities are very particular. They don't want any, they don't want an offset joint. They would make them fix it. You have to decide that because we can go through offset joints, but if the city want to approve that, then that would be up to them. Yes?
I guess more for you, would there be an additional charge to clean, for you guys to clean the city main? Because you have to have the city main cleaned.
We would usually do that, or you would have them. I don't know if you would do it, but we usually do it as part of our task.
Okay, so that'd be included.
That'd be included in the price to clean the lateral and the main line.
Yeah, I can follow up on that a little bit more. So on the cleaning of this city sewer main, if it's a component of the work for a lateral, we would most likely require you to include it in your work. It would be coordination with National Plant Services to do the cleaning. We wouldn't have our staff go out and do cleaning. We would have Michelle's staff do it if they were the one contracted to do it. Once that's done and they're ready to proceed with that work, then we would be all right with it.
Brad, excuse me, can you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, sure. So just to kind of restate that, we would have you coordinate using Michelle or her company to do the cleaning in the main line. They're a general A contractor. They can help. They can coordinate that with us, access the manholes, set up all the traffic control, do that. and we would just need to be notified, and it would fall under the public works permit that you would be operating under.
But that will add to the cost if we have to clean your main line. If you have a couple, things in one street, it's obviously better because we clean the main line once for like 2 laterals. If we have to clean a whole main line for 1 lateral, it is a little bit more cost. Anything else? Yes? So generally, we always give notice a day before we're going to start work, telling them to please don't use their water during the process. Before we start, we'll knock on the door, and usually it's no more than 2 hours that they shouldn't use. Now, if they have to go to the bathroom, it's no problem. They could flush the toilet. We just don't want them doing laundry or putting a lot of water down that it might back into their house. 2 hours max.
And this, you have stuff available online, or is it a handout or something?
Yeah, I have a little fact sheet of what I will need. I have some brochures and I have cards. And then they're gonna post this presentation on the website so you can look at it again if you want to. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
So, any future SLIP communication and training, this is an annual certification program training. You can find this, you will be able to find this one on the city's SLIP webpage. It's there for you. With that, we are open for questions related to the program itself. So if anybody has questions aside Michelle's product, we're here to answer those at this time. So your question is, give you an example as to why we would not allow you to use the liner on that lateral. If there is a void at the bottom of the pipe, a broken up section, which you're not going to, be able to get a full solid circle around, that would be one of them. If it's Orangeburg, and it's, the validity has decreased to 2 inches, that would be another reason why we would not allow you to line that lateral. Again, depending on the cast iron, if the cast iron has a lot of buildup in it and they can't clean it well enough to give you that full validity, then we wouldn't allow it.
Also, if you're the mainline line, you probably deny it. If you're playing on mainline line,
Again, like what Michelle said is if it's a clay line that we have and it's not lined for National Plant Services product, that would not be acceptable for that time. Even though that they can do it, but for the city of Santa Barbara, that won't work for us because we may come in at a later date in line. And then now we're having to send the cutter in to cut out that connection again. So we could cause damage to that as they're cutting that out.
However, it is on a case-by-case basis, though. So, like I said, if the remainder of the line looks great, this is the only thing that really needs to be affected, we may approve it. But from a general rule of thumb, we most likely will not allow it if it is not lined yet. But if it's a special circumstance, it's a deep Y connection, and really the property owner can't afford the excavation costs for it, we will consider it. It just needs to be proposed to us.
Definitely a case by case. It is definitely by a case by case. So that's why we will, be there to evaluate it and sit there and say, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't. So again, it has to come in a written format. Whether you want to send me an email, whether you want to send it in the mail, that's fine. We will respond as soon as we get it, and then, you know, we would attach the guidelines to that as well. And that goes for both the, you know, National Plant Services lining method or any other lining method out there.
So as far as getting the job completed after they've been served, that they have to have their sewer replaced, I always get asked, well, what's gonna happen if I can't pay for it in 90 days or 60 days? What's the protocol? What happens to the homeowner? You guys start levying their house, or what do you do to them?
So the question is that if the property owner can't do anything to the work that is required within 90 days, we try to work with the property owners prior to administering any kind of admin fines. If it goes ignored by the property owners, we send out a warning letter first. Would they still ignore us? If we go into the 6 month, Maribel, right around the 6 month, you know, that's 30 days after their due date, then we will issue a $100 admin fine starting at $100, and that is automatically added to their water bill at that time. That would be your flat fee for the first time. Okay, so if we go out, we send that first $100, they sit there and say, oh, we're just going to pay it and ignore the letter. Well, then usually 2 months after that, we'll do a follow-up. And that one is at $150. And again, it's to your water bill. So if you're not paying that water bill, then the water will be shut off, obviously, right? So then that's how we go. And it goes as high as $250. And then at that point, we would then go to higher management for their direction, which, you know, we had talked about possibly going to the city attorneys to deal with it at that point.
So are there programs out there that the homeowners can borrow for funding for doing a $14,000 sewer lateral, or?
So is there programs for the property owners that cannot afford it? The incentive right now that the city of Santa Barbara is offering is the wastewater department is waiving some of those fees that could be upward in the $2,000 range. Okay, so those fees shouldn't be charged to the residential properties. Commercial, there's not. There's nothing for commercial. But residential, you know, those fees can run upwards into the $2,000 range. Wastewater funds will cover that. Am I prematurely going to say anything? All right, let me get direction here. Hold on.
I'm being notified that City TV can't hear my comments, so I have to come back and stand up here. So currently there is no city offering for a loan or any kind of financial deferment or payment over time. We are looking at restructuring the program over the next year, 2 years, in order to help out our residents with the sometimes exorbitant cost of repairing infrastructure they're not even usually aware that they own. So we are looking into it. There are external programs, though, and we do encourage property owners to seek out other means, such as banks or some of the other private partnerships, to look at kind of long-term or financing options for paying for the work. But right now, the city is not doing anything other than what Dale said except for waive some fees in order to help facilitate the work getting done. So I'll stay up here, though, just in case more questions come up.
I get two major questions more than any other two. The first one is a lot of customers use us for service and maintenance, but then they get the letter and they'll call you guys and you'll refer someone to them. They'll say, here's what's wrong, and here's some guys we refer. And then they'll call us back and go, we're getting referred, do you do the work, or should I call them? Are you referring, and what's the policy if you're referring?
I'll follow up. That.
The question was, are we referring? Plumbers. Specific jobs when you get a call from someone who received a letter. And then they'll go back to their plumber and say, hey, they referred somebody. Do you also do the work? Should I get them? You've always done my work. And it kind of complicates
is there a referral policy? Are you guys referring?
Okay, so to answer the first question, the city of Santa Barbara does not endorse any specific plumber, company. We defer to the California Licensing Board in terms of what work a plumber could or could not do. Adam Hendel, his Public Works, land development staff are the ones helping us and enforce that. When we get a resident who calls us, a lot of the feedback I've been receiving lately is they get very kind of confused, or it's a complicated process, because if I hire somebody off your certified plumbers list, all the list that you're all signing up for today by being here, they don't necessarily understand right off the bat that you cannot, if you don't have the right licensing, you cannot do the work. And so I've had a couple of phone calls with property owners that say, I'm confused on, is the city referring anybody? Is the city advertising for anybody on the list? And they get that confused with, you still need to make sure that they can do the actual work based on the California licensing permissions. We will be adding that to our list online so that you will have California licensing, A, C34, C36, so that property owners can have a quicker reference for it. But no, we do not endorse or recommend or refer any specific plumber. We support competition. We support having more availability. As you've probably all become aware, there is a lot of work that's being done out there, and it's not just one firm or two plumbing companies that can handle it. There's a lot of repair work that needs to get done. So does that help answer your question, Chris?
I'm going to do it more specific. As of today, would you guys say you won't say any names to anybody who calls in?
Yes, as a policy, we do not say call this person, or this person. I want to exclude, though, depending on the situation, we do encourage property owners to go out and solicit multiple bids. We will not say names, but we will say, if you've received one, great, I'm glad you've received one. But I would highly encourage you to go out and solicit multiple bids. We don't try to comment on price. We don't try and comment on scope of work or any of that kind of stuff. We just say, you know what, our policy is we recommend getting multiple bids, because that's what the city does when we go out and solicit work.
So make sure you have the right license, type of contractor, and best of luck, we have a really nice list. No names.
Yes.
And then the next one, have you thought about a little handout that we can have and say, this is why you're being requested to do this? We all, if you lined up 5 of us right now and said, why is the city requiring this? Harvard doesn't do it, Lita doesn't do it in other parts of the state. I don't think you get the same 5 answers, and it's nice to hear what you guys want us to be saying accurately and consistently. So have you thought about that, or do you have a statement of why they're doing something where we're not even allowed to touch your name on it, but yet they're paying for the bill? And they always kind of go, how does that make sense?
So that's a great suggestion. So first and foremost, well, that wasn't really a full question. It was more along the lines of some recommendations and some other questions and concerns about property owners being a little confused and maybe a difference of explanation. Chris, is that a better? Yeah.
Just go this instead of, because they'll take our words and twist them. I've had them go to you guys after I say, hey, this is what they do, and they'll say, he said, it's great, or like you said in your example, there's no roots in their own. So once we become involved in that conversation, it doesn't necessarily translate to you guys accurately.
Yeah.
And we might look like we're citing,
Yeah.
it's just not working.
So for everybody, if you didn't hear, he's asking about, can we provide a handout, or have we considered providing a handout to property owners? Over the next year, we will be working on our public outreach. That's a great suggestion as far as something that can be provided to you to hand it out so that everybody gets the same information. We want to keep a clear, concise message to our property owners so they aren't hearing one story from one person, hearing another story from another person, and taking what they like to hear best and coming back to us with it too, because we hear the same thing. One of the ideas we have moving forward over the next year, similarly to what we're doing here with a certified plumbers training, we're also looking at offering some meetings, public meetings, and more handouts on our website available to property owners so that they can get more information directly from the city. We're also looking at clarifying the ownership of the lateral. We are different than our neighbors. They do not. Many of you work in the different municipalities in the area. We are different. Property owners own from the building all the way down to and including the connection to the city main. That is very difficult for a lot of property owners when I start talking with them to understand. They say, how do I own anything that's not even on my property? And that's something that I am consistently giving the same exact answer to. So one of the things we've done is we've taken that feedback and we're going to start working towards providing meetings in person, maybe quarterly or every 2 times a year, as well as televising them like we're doing with this meeting to provide to property owners so that they can get the information directly from us. So does that help for some ideas that we're looking at?
I got a question for you. You were just talking about, trying to save people money. So people that get a letter says, why broken defective? Now, I've never had a situation where somebody gets a letter and the why is broken defective. Maybe there's been a situation, but every time the why is broken defective, they gotta change that why. So we had a situation, line's broken defective. Coming from the house, there's roots, so we snake it out with the machine best we can. I went down and talked to him. Said, hey, the guy is already in line to put a new line in. You guys made the guy jet the line. So he jetted the line. Now, and it cost $650, $700 to jet the line. So he cleaned the line, and then a month later he put in a brand new line. So $700 was just pissed down the drain to clean the line. And he was already on board to do it. But your guy says, well, I really can't tell unless you jet it. Well, the line, you could tell the line's screwed up. You need a new line. It just didn't, it was just like, I don't know why it bothered me so much, but it killed me to jet that line and clean a line. Then a month later, we put a new one in. It drove me crazy. It still drives me crazy. It happened like a couple months ago. But anyway, why that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. So that's a great concern, and I'd like to talk about that more offline. But in a similar situation, so what he's saying is, we're requiring that line to be jetted, cleaned, and then ultimately replaced. We encourage property owners to take care of as much as they feel comfortable with, while still meeting the intent of the letter that we send them. So we don't tell them, you know what, you've got 2, 3, 4 repairs on here. It makes more sense to replace the line. Or you've got a lot of roots coming in. It makes sense to just replace the line. We say you need to take care of the minimum requirement. And so in this situation, since I'm not aware of specifically this case, that's something that I'd be happy to have a conversation with the property owner on to discuss where these roots might be coming in. But as far as if a property owner agrees to replace an entire line, including the Y, we don't make them go CCTV, clean the line, only to replace it. No. So what I'm saying though is as a policy from the city, if a property owner is agreeing to replace from house all the way down to and including the Y, we're not going to say, please make. Well,
He wanted to do it. He
so.
said, nope, can't do it. We've got to jet the line first before we can tell him to replace the line, but we want to. No, got to jet first.
So, well then, moving forward, then it'd be great to get a letter from the property owner stating that they will replace the entire line, so that it's very clear to both parties or all parties involved, both plumber, city, and property owner. So.
That happened to me too, same thing. Oh, you got to re-inspect. So if we know it's bad after the first inspection, should we just tell a homeowner, hey, it needs to be replaced instead of re-jetting it and charging them? Because we know the root intrusion, the cracks were there before we snaked it the second time. It cost them $700 for the camera and all that. When the first initial inspection determined, yeah, hey, it's bad, we're going to fix it. You just said with multiple roots, cracks, they're going to replace it anyway.
Yeah. So let me just finish this out, Dale. So as far as the submittal to the city's concerned, we need to see pipe, as Dale explained earlier, we need to see the pipe clean, free of debris in the structural component of that pipe. Once you turn that in, Dale's letter is going to state what needs to happen. We don't require anybody to go back and do additional cleaning unless we cannot reasonably determine that. So like Dale has up here, video needs to be clear, proper lighting, right speed, all that kind of stuff, so he can make a fair assessment back to that property owner in the letter that we issue. That's the city's responsibility, and that's our requirement. So as far as how property owners feel about, okay, well, I don't know if I want to replace it or not, we stay out of that. We just state these are the locations that had all the defects. You need to either replace the Y, you need to repair the locations that have roots coming in, or a void or a structural defect. And we're trying to stay pretty consistent with the national standard, which is PACP. So we try to stay outside of, you know, if the property owner goes back and forth on whether or not they want to clean it to see if they can do anything else before replacing it. So go ahead, Dale, if you want.
Yeah, I want to chime in on that. So usually what happens is that I'll get a video and it'll be full of roots. So yes, I'm gonna ask them to hydrogen it because I can't assess that. I'm not gonna, you know. True, that is true. But are the roots at every single joint? So that's what we have to look at. You know, if there's only 6 feet that has to be replaced, then I'm only going to ask them to replace 6 feet. I don't want to have them replace 80 feet of pipe if it's not needed. That is why I want to have a clean line so that I can accurately tell them, yes, you only have to replace 6 feet versus 80 feet. I mean, if you're coming to me, I'm going to want to do the least possible, you know, for you know, finance wise. I don't want to spend, you know, thousands of dollars if I don't have to spend it when I can spend $250 to fix 6 feet. I'm just throwing numbers out. I know that's not what it is. Just throwing those numbers out. So. So your comment is if you turn in a form with the owners or the property owner's approval to change it, then we will go ahead and move forward with that. I've done that for some of these plumbers on a few different occasions that, you know, I said, hey, have the homeowner write a letter saying that they just want to replace it. They don't want to deal with it. That's fine. As long as they sign it, the homeowner signs it, that way we have it documented and we put it in the file. Then yes, well, that's something you guys sold them. Then
Shouldn't your process stop once a permit is pulled? So we show up and they say, I got this, it says, just replace the whole thing. Now, we've been doing this since it started, and once the permit is pulled, your end should stop. If you see it's been pulled, new line, new why do anything else? Slip report.
okay, but did you only do just the lateral but not the Y?
Everything. You're saying proactive, forget snaking, forget hammering it, let's just replace it all. We've been doing that since you started this, in 2007, and it used to just stop. You guys didn't bug them, you didn't try, and as soon as you saw that permit come across you, that's it. They're getting a new line and a new Y, why do anything else?
So let me restate just so I can understand. So you're saying a property owner is volunteering to replace their lateral, including the Y, complete. So how are they submitting that to us to state that? You're pulling a permit to state that it's completed. Okay, and you're stating that we're asking for a video at a cleaning still?
There's been some instances after the fact where they still want to see it, and when Manuel was doing this years back, that wasn't the case. Once that permit was pulled, obviously it's going to be done in an inspection and passed on an inspection. Why is there any other need for cleaning or slips? It's all.
So again, if the line is being installed from the building down to the Y, including the Y, the Public Works Inspector is the one signing off on that work, and that basically will grant them a COC for 10 years on residential, 20? 3 years on residential. Okay, so 3 years on residential. So except for the exceptions that Dale had mentioned in the PowerPoint slide on what may cause us to require another lateral inspection, that suffices it. So I'm not sure of any certain instances where that's going on, but I'd be happy to talk with you about it and understand a little bit more about where this has gone on, because as you can tell, we're coordinating with Public Works staff in order to do that. So I'm not sure if that was a loophole.
If you get, we all know we understand you guys, we know what you're gonna say. We see a crack why it's going. Lots of roots, it's out. So maybe they go pull the permit, say, hey, just do it. You're gonna get a letter in 10 days or whatever, you're gonna have to do it anyway. So they're going and pulling the permit, trying to avoid the cleaning and the camera work. Can they do that?
my thing is that I want to make sure that, you know, if we get the okay from the property owner, where I feel comfortable is having them have it on writing that it came from them, because they're just telling you to do it. They don't want to do the video. And here's a letter saying, I just want to replace this. That way we can stick it in their file and say, hey, okay, you know, we're not going to require it because we don't know if the whole thing is needed. But if that's what you guys want to do, you guys want to pay for it, then that's fine. You know, we want to be able to say, replace this because it's that bad and we're going to require that part.
See, I had the same thing where he knew the line was bad and the Y was bad. I told him, you're gonna need the Y. And he said, okay, let's do it. Well, then, a few days later, or a week later, he gets a letter from the city saying defective Y. I said, well, we know that. And I said, I go, well, we're gonna replace the Y already. Well, we still need the camera. I go, well, why? If we're gonna replace the Y, why do we still need to snake it, jet it, and camera it? That's an extra additional cost.
Trying to say.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to say. Why have the customer pay for all this when it's gonna be gone anyway? That's what he's trying to say.
So can a full replacement with Y and lateral
Exclude all that.
exclude that? Just say
All I'm,
So hold on, I got this. So for sake of time, I think this sounds like something we probably need to make a little bit clearer on our public outreach so that a property owner has kind of the rules and understand where we stand on this issue. So I think just because I'm hearing it from a lot of you guys, we'll take a look at that issue and we'll see if we can make that requirement clear.
I think like Dale said, as long as we get a signed letter from the homeowner saying we are going to replace all the way down to the Y, including the Y, to me that justifies
no video needed.
no video, yeah.
Yeah, no jetting needed, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Now, I've experienced this too, and in talking to everybody, I was under the understanding, and it's worked a few times, that if I go ahead and pull this Y, regardless of the letter, and it's there and everything, and then we do receive a letter, we just camera after the fact, after the line's been pulled, submit the slip paperwork to you with the video, and everybody's happy, everything's done, because it only takes me an hour to throw a camera down there after I pull the line through. But it fulfills your need to have something on record. Permits are at Public Works, I get paid, everybody's happy. Isn't that how it works now? Because that's how I've been doing it. And this situation, why include the camera in my cost? I'm already making.
So again, I think there's multiple components to what we're talking about here, but I think the key is as long as a property owner submits something in writing, signed, says, I'm just going to replace this. I understand, my Y is getting replaced, my lateral is getting replaced, then we'll be okay with that. Then we will. But hold on, because my colleague over here, she has something that she wanted to bring up too real quick.
I'm sorry. No, just to add on that. Well, I was a little confused also when you guys were asking questions. So just if the owner receives a letter and decides, and it says defective Y, if they only replace the Y, we still need a video. You guys understand that? Okay, that's what I was kind of getting confused with some of your questions. So if they only receive, they redo the lateral, we still need a picture of the Y. Okay, that was it. That was it.
Yes.
So, what I've gathered from your end is, I don't know how many guys have run across this where we get this, the homeowner gets a slip request, and they go, well, I had my line replaced 6 years ago by so-and-so plumber out of wherever, and they charge me $6,000, and we run our camera, and it's clay pipe the whole way out, nothing's been done. Has anybody else run into that? Or they had a huge job done, and 3 years ago, the Y wasn't replaced, and now they come back and say, well, your Y wasn't replaced. They're pissed at us because we're saying you need to have your Y replaced. That's been a real big issue lately for me, at least. It's like, they ran 80 feet of trenches pipe out, no Y replaced. 2 years later, they got to dig up 6 feet of street out in a busy street. Basically pay for it again.
I've run into that. I've had a property owner reach out to me saying that they paid a plumbing outfit to replace the line, and we found a defect at the Y. I explained to him that the Y is part of their responsibility. Their plumber then comes out, submits a new video, and the work was never done. Unfortunately, that's going to have to be a civil matter between the property owner and that plumbing outfit, that the work was never done.
But usually we get stiff for the check if they say, well, I'm not paying you for your lateral inspection. Because I had it there and they should replace it, it comes back on us. So, I think that's like more trying to answer what they're saying, like, you know, why permits are being, like, right, to go back and
Wh-
make sure that the work was actually.
When we send a slip letter for residential, we tend to look up for any permits prior or any previous cases prior. So we'll go in our computer system, and we can look up those permits, and they date back quite a few years back. So we tend to look for those to see if any permits were pulled, and it'll tell us if they had a new lateral pulled. It'll tell us if they had a new Y installed. So we do our due diligence on this end, looking to see if the work was done. Mark?
Now, if you cut the chase and you just don't do all the jetting and cammering and they want it in place, do you still waive the permits that you waive if you go through the whole spiel?
If it's a residential, or so your question is, will we waive permit fees if they just want to replace their line, they don't want to go through everything? As long as they submit a video and they're going to replace the Y and the lateral, then we will go ahead.
Submit a video without cleaning it, just showing the dirty mess that's there.
If they're going to replace it anyway, you wouldn't even have to do a video.
But you will still
We will. We will. Go ahead.
I have a question. So basically, when we run into archaeological sites, why aren't you guys helping, on basically you're picking sites, when you guys, ask to replace a section of a line, that happens to be an archaeological site, and then, these people want to take advantage of the farmer or of the homeowner because they know that you guys are requiring an archaeologist and a Native American to oversee the project. But first of all, you guys have a list of people that qualify. But then they give you a quote, and once they're on site, they flip it over, and they want to charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars in order, in order for them to inspect the site. But our work stops right there, and there's nothing we can do. Now, do we have to pay $100,000 to the archaeologist and the Native American in order to finish this project? That originally was going to be $10,000. That's what you national plan.
Well, my suggestion was to use a liner in that one to avoid that.
So that's actually outside the scope. That's outside the scope of this training. That gets into a lot of other issues when it comes to archaeologists and other site conditions you might run into, which is why we are bringing on companies like this.
We can't even, close the trench. We don't have $100,000 to pay, the archaeologist, so now we have it on the trench. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have very much help from the city in order to,
So we're gonna we'll handle that question separately outside of this. Does anybody have any other kind of general program, less specific questions?
This all came because we needed, when we got the letter, that we needed to replace that section of the pipe.
Okay.
But they never aware us, before we started, we even got the permit issue,
Yeah.
So when we started, it's like we opened up a can of worms. But now we can't even close it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the lid.
Yeah.
Just a couple more.
We'll have to deal with that offline. Sorry. Yeah. Was there another question?
Yeah, once these applications are submitted and for all of our attendees here today, can we add a class for a supplemental? Would it be
You can.
We will work on that to get that taken care of, because I was expecting more people today. So we will, I will. Oh, yes, yes. Once you do that, yeah, just you get a hold of myself or Maribel, and we'll go ahead and address that. Yeah.
So the employees that are not here today, that were here on the last class in the other building, are they no longer qualified to take the video?
We are starting a fresh list. Those for all permitted ones. The question is, where should we drop off the slip program stuff? Permitted are going to come to Garden Street. The slip ones, they can for now come down to Alistero. But like I said earlier on, that gate's going to be locked, so there's going to be very minimal access for anybody to come through. So, you may be better off coming down here to drop those off. And we usually pick those up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. What's that? What list? The So your question is to rearrange the list?
Yeah, 'cause it starts from A, goes to Z, or, it kind of. Seems like I'm always on page 2. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, again, there's less people here today. We might be able to do that. Alphabetical. Alphabetical. One more question, and then we're gonna conclude this.
My employees have to sign this and then bring it back?
Do your employees have to sign it? No. They will be under your umbrella. Yes.
Are you gonna revise the list soon?
We are gonna work on that based off of what we got today.
I have a request. I'm doing business as, but there's a Drain Masters and Upstart right next to each other. Can it be either your corporate name or something separate? In my case.
We'll let's discuss that after. Okay? Thank you. I'll be here to answer questions after.